Chapter 5: Shocking Civilian Shootdowns That Changed History. There are some stories that hit so hard they changed the world. Today, I want to tell you about 5 major civilian plane shootdowns, events that shocked nations, broke hearts, and forced the world to rethink how far conflict can go. These are real people, real flights, and real consequences over decades. We start in 1983. The Cold War was still on edge. Korean Airlines Flight 007. Korean Airlines Flight 007, 1983. On board were families, business travelers, and children, each with their own story, heading home or to new adventures. The flight's path took it unknowingly over sensitive Soviet military installations, raising alarms on the ground. Soviet radar operators and pilots struggled to identify the plane, debating its intentions in tense radio exchanges. The order was given, an interceptor was sent, and a missile launched, sealing the fate of all on board. News of the tragedy spread rapidly. Families waited in agony for word, only to be met with heartbreak. The world demanded answers. International outrage led to emergency sessions at the United Nations. The incident changed aviation forever. New rules for flight paths and international communication were put in place. For the families, the pain never faded. Memorials stand as a reminder of the lives lost and the lessons learned. The tragedy of Flight 007 remains a warning, how a single error can ripple across the world. Fast forward to 1988, the Persian Gulf. Iran Air Flight 655, an ordinary Airbus full of civilians, was mistaken for an enemy jet. On July 3, 1988, Iran Air Flight 655, an Airbus A300, departed Bandar Abbas for Dubai, following a routine commercial route over the Persian Gulf. At the same time, the USS Vincennes, a U.S. Navy cruiser, was engaged in a tense military operation nearby, tracking multiple contacts on its radar. Confusion arose as the Vincennes mistook Flight 655 for a hostile fighter jet. Despite the airliner climbing on its assigned path, warnings and identification checks failed. The Vincennes launched 2 surface-to-air missiles. Both struck the Airbus, causing it to crash into the sea and killing all 290 people on board. Investigations later revealed a series of miscommunications and technical errors that led to the tragedy, prompting international scrutiny of military engagement protocols. Then, 2001, near the Black Sea, Siberia Airlines Flight 1812. Siberia Airlines Flight 1812 was on a routine journey from Tel Aviv to Novosibirsk. During a Ukrainian military training exercise over the Black Sea, a surface-to-air missile was accidentally launched. The missile struck the passenger jet, causing it to crash into the sea below. All 78 people on board lost their lives, including many Israeli citizens. Investigators determined the tragedy was the result of an accidental missile launch during military drills. The incident led to renewed scrutiny of safety protocols for military exercises near civilian air routes. Families mourned, and the world was reminded how a single error can have devastating consequences. The legacy of Flight 1812 is a call for vigilance and accountability in the skies. Next, 2014, Eastern Ukraine. July 17, 2014. Malaysia Airlines Flight MH17 was flying from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur, carrying 298 people. As the plane crossed eastern Ukraine, it was struck by a missile, breaking apart in mid-air. International investigators determined a Russian-made Buk missile system was responsible for the attack. The tragedy sparked outrage worldwide, with families demanding justice and governments calling for accountability. All 298 lives were lost, passengers, crew, entire families, leaving a legacy of grief and unanswered questions. The MH17 disaster remains a stark reminder of the human cost of international conflict and the urgent need for accountability. On January 8, 2020, Ukraine International Airlines Flight 752 took off from Tehran, just hours after Iranian missile strikes against U.S. bases in Iraq. Minutes later, the plane was struck by 2 surface-to-air missiles launched by Iranian forces amid fears of a U.S. attack. All 176 people aboard, many of them students and families, lost their lives in the disaster. Initial denials by Iranian officials fueled anger and confusion until days later the government admitted responsibility. The tragedy sparked international outrage with calls for justice and sweeping changes to global aviation safety. For the families, the pain endures, a reminder of how quickly ordinary lives can be shattered by the fallout of conflict. Ukraine International Airlines Flight 752 stands as a stark symbol of the human cost of geopolitical crisis. In the end, These tragedies remind us how quickly ordinary lives can be changed by conflict and error. The consequences reach far beyond the headlines, touching families, communities, and generations. We owe it to those lost to remember, to learn, and to strive for a safer world. What lessons do you think the world still needs to learn? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching and for remembering with us.